Welcome to the Basket Buds edition of the Athletic NBA Show podcast on the Athletic Podcast Network. I'm your host, Zach Harper. We got Trevon Edwards. We've got Jay King. We've got Mo Dakhil. We've got a recording on a Friday for a pod that's going to kind of come out on a Monday. Shit happens this weekend. It's summer. I don't know what to tell you. Dave DeForest producing. We're just getting through. Okay. There's not a ton of news. We're going to get into some stuff with the schedule, obviously get into James Harden. Make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel. Make sure you are subscribed to The Bounce daily newsletter. That's, well, not daily right now, but once we get back to the season, it's going to be daily. It's every Tuesday and Friday right now. It's free. theathletic.com/The Bounce. And make sure you are subscribed to The Athletic for the best coverage of sports on the interwebs. Gentlemen, we've had a full business week at this point, since James Harden called Daryl Morey a liar twice. Made sure he backed it up and then drove again.
That was the best part. That was the best part.
He had to make sure the cameras were rolling.
Cameras were rolling.
That's what he was doing. He had to make sure the video got the quote.
Let me say it again. Is probably the best part of that video.
I mean, I love that he said this in front of a bunch of kids. Like, it's so funny.
And they all started clapping. Like,
yeah.
He said something incredible.
I like the person who whooped.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good hype person. What was it? There was something back in the 90s. Was it Dennis Scott that like went off like for his own basketball camp? He just started complaining about contract or something. But there was like a famous, I think it was Dennis Scott, like back in the 90s, who just went off in front of a bunch of kids on basketball stuff. But it reminded me of that. But yeah, he calls Daryl Morey a liar. He says that he's not going to play for an organization that Daryl Morey is a part of ever again. And that's tough because, you got to be traded. You got to be traded. We've had some language in the collective bargaining agreement that's apparently been there since 2017 that Mike Vorkanoff unveiled to us on the interwebs with basically he can't just sit out, right? He can't just hold out and become a free agent. He's going to have to play, or maybe if he can, I don't think you can convince the NBA at this point that you're injured and can't play all season long once you've come out and done this. So that's going to be tough. But
if anyone could do it, it would be him, though.
Yeah, that's true. He could find a way because he's the trade request king. Like, he really is. He's the best at this stuff because he knows that he's got to get uncomfortable. He's got to make everybody else uncomfortable. Everyone's like, oh, your request to trade and just be nice. But no, that's not how you get traded. When you want to get out, you have to make it ugly. You just do. Damian Lillard, he wants to get out of Portland. Like, these are the notes to take. Maybe you don't want to do it if you don't want to be uncomfortable, but if you're happy being uncomfortable, this is how it works. And so now we have another standoff. I guess the standoff hasn't stopped from Daryl Morey and James Harden. I'm curious though, guys, if you think, because we had the league investigate the signings of Daniel House and PJ Tucker last year, right? And it ended up costing the 76ers 2 second-round picks. Oh my God, I hope they're okay. That's a devastating penalty. Good job by the league for really laying the hammer down. But they had deemed that the contact between those free agents and the team had happened too early, right? And so, all right, you lose a couple of second-round picks. And this implication from James Harden, there are two ways to go about it, right? Either Daryl Morey promised to trade James Harden, and now he's not, and that's why James is calling him a liar, which is not breaking the rules. Or Daryl Morey last year, when James Harden took a $14.5 million pay cut to fit these guys into the salary cap with some exceptions that were used to sign them, was promised, 4 years, $200-something million as a max deal, which we all assumed was going to happen. And then we get to the negotiating time now, and hey, guess what? They're not paying James Harden, and he's pissed. And so if that's the case, then the league, that's serious. That's some, Joe Smith stuff right there in a way. And so with this, Mo, I'm curious if you think, I've heard that people are calling for an investigation, right? Do you think that enough people have that the league has to look into this again?
I mean, they probably have to look into it again, but I just don't know what they're going to find this time around.
Well, they might find James Harden saying, oh yeah, I was promised some shit. And that
But
that's
the thing.
different. That's
But
different than the last
for
investigation.
For sure. But then it's his word against theirs, right? And there's no,
Sure.
unless there's the smoking gun in the difference in the Joe Smith thing was there was a written agreement because they literally thought at the time Glenn Taylor can keel over and die at any moment, and we need to have this in writing. And I think that was the main mistake in all of this. And then it becomes a battle
They
of,
took notes on a criminal conspiracy.
Yeah,
That
well,
was a bad decision.
So it's just at that point, like,
Yeah.
I just don't know.
But there just has to be like a text message, right?
There just has to be a text message.
Yeah.
And if they're dumb enough to have sent a text message, considering there was that whole thing when they started the whole tampering investigations of like, we can get your phones and we will audit your phones and messages.
Yeah.
If you did send a text message and promise that, you deserve to get caught because you're stupid.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why it doesn't make sense to me that there was an agreement is because all the Houston stuff came out, that he wanted to go to Houston, that he was strongly considering a reunion with the Rockets. Why would that come out if he'd already basically agreed to go back to Philly and at a price that he was comfortable with? Because everybody, even when the Rocket stuff came out, people thought, maybe he doesn't want to go there. Maybe he's just using them for leverage.
Mm-hmm.
Why would he need leverage if they had an agreement?
Because you're not talking in June, right? You're talking throughout the year.
Oh, I was going to chime in.
Go for it. Go for it, Trey.
Well, a podcast came out and didn't rub him the right way. And guys feel away. Guys really feel away. And, he thought a question was asked to a young Rockets player, and it came off as no harm and didn't really mean anything of it, but it's just how it went. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like, all right, well, shoot, I'm not going to go there no more. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to change the destination. And I think there was, again, not saying that this happens so often, but there are a lot of behind the scenes agreements. And, this originally started in Philly where James was told to, hey, you take the pay cut. We bring some of these guys in. I'll take care of you the following year. Mm-hmm. And that was the thing. But also, the funny thing about it, he goes in the interview and says, I feel like I don't get enough credit for taking a pay cut. Mm-hmm. When it's like, you did this with a hidden agenda.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's hard for us to be like, man, good job, man. Look at you being unselfish. When we really know that you took this in order because you were promised that you would be taken care of the following season. Now, again, I don't know how this works. I don't know if it was written down, if it was a handshake, because again, this is Morey's guy. And you would feel like over the years, they have history where he has did everything in his possible way to take care of James.
Yeah.
And the first time, in the words of Beyonce, the first time I say no, it's like I never said yes, right? And that's when we get this.
Shout out to Houston. What a Houston tie-in. There's levels to that reference right there.
Man, I'm spitting right now, right?
Trey's a professional.
So we get to that point, and some people are like, oh, shout outs to Perk, because me and Perk had this like exchange on Twitter, and it wasn't like we respect each other. But Perk's like, James is going to be out the league. And I'm like, no, he's not. Will he not make the money that he wants? Absolutely not. But James is not. Once James gets through the whole only child thing with teams where they're like, well, we're not going to trade you, or we're going to trade you, or you're going to show up here and you're going to do this. He's not a pain with his teammates. He's just a pain to deal with during the logistics of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that doesn't cause him to be out of the league. It's just more so like, how much do I want to pay? Now, does he not get the bag elsewhere? Probably not. And the comparison was the Russell Westbrooks. And I'm like, Russ' situation is a little different. You know what I mean? Because now it goes into fit. We've never questioned how Russell Westbrook plays. It's more so what Russ needs and what Russ is capable. James has adjusted many times since he's been moved. Yeah. His game, and he's able to figure that out. And I think he'll be able to do that for the rest of his career. Now, not to be long-winded in this particular situation, we get to now where he has continued this tour. Now he's, he was seen yesterday or today, I'm not sure, with his arms crossed, addressing Houston media for his give back because his birthday's coming up. So he'll be in LA and he'll probably give some quotes there.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to keep going until something happens.
Yeah.
He doesn't care if he's in LA. He doesn't care if he's in Utah. That man wants a bag. He even flirted with China. At the end of the day, however I can keep this party going, I'm going to go. It is not because I'm forced out of the league. If China wants to pay me $400 million, I am out of here.
Shout out to the upcoming Saudi league.
I was gonna say he's the first player to take the Saudi money. That's the first.
But that's what I'm saying.
Money.
Don't be surprised if James Harden takes the bag elsewhere. Not because he can't play in the NBA anymore or no team wants to play him.
Right.
He wants to keep this show going. He lives a fun life.
I hope it doesn't. I hope none of this gets resolved before the season starts, because James showing up. I mean, Ramona Shelburne reported like this is just the start of it. Like it's gonna get a lot more uncomfortable, and we've seen
so good. It's gonna be so entertaining.
He's very good at this.
We've seen it. I mean, the fact that we don't know if he was wearing a fat suit under his warm-up, like that is one of the greatest stories. One of the greatest mysteries in NBA history. The fact that we saw him the game before he got traded from Houston, and we're like, the fuck happened to James Harden? He's huge. He's huge. And then like 4 days later at a Nets photo shoot in his new uniform, he's slim. Like he's been working out all summer. And it's like, what just happened there? Like, yeah, you can cut weight in boxing with like those hot suits and everything. You can't cut that. Like what it looked like and then what it looked like again. And so what is he going to show up like the fucking clumps? What is James Harden going to do to that episode of Fresh Prince where Will was in a fat suit? Like, what is it going to be for James Harden to get himself out? That's what I want to see. Like, I just want to see what he's willing to push it to.
GOAT.
He is, James.
He's the GOAT. He's the best ever.
And according to Troy, this is his MVP season.
Well, all right.
Yeah, okay.
No offense to Troy. I cannot listen to agents talk about this.
For listeners, good friend, longtime friend, Troy Payne, respected in the, but
really
first
good
time agent.
Really.
Well, no, this is going to be his first.
Yeah.
This is his first hat tip as being an agent and not James's, associate. And Troy has earned this right. But the press run has been a front page out of Rich Paul's book.
Oh, absolutely.
And now he is saying whatever team or how James guaranteed that this is going to be an MVP season for James. That's a lot of pressure, by the way.
What I was gonna say is it's great. He's a great agent propagandist, right? Like he's just like he's here to make the media tours and talk and hype up his guy. I don't know if the propaganda is going to serve James, because let's say he gets traded to the Clippers tomorrow and he's happy and they're like, you know what, we'll put it in writing. Here's $250 million next time you become a free agent, right? Like Steve Ballmer's got you. He's going to come out here and say it publicly. Like, yes, we're giving him the bag and all this stuff. He still ain't going to win MVP this year. Like, that's not going to be. That's not what it's going to be.
It's a bit of an extreme point there for all of that. But yeah. I'm excited. I'm with you, Zach. I don't want him to get traded till the trade deadline. I want to watch this thing get completely ugly.
I'm cool if he's.
I don't want Dame to get traded either. I don't want I don't want no trades. I want drama through this whole thing. I want Portland to have 6 point guards and just start them all. And then I want James and Embiid and PJ Tucker and all these guys to just be taking their frustrations to social media because we love chaos.
Tyrese Maxey's got a podcast. I mean, let's do it. Like
this is going to be the big thing.
Daryl Morey versus James Harden is the greatest showdown you could possibly dream up.
Oh, I cannot wait for Media Day.
Friends becoming enemies? Like, this is one of the... friends becoming enemies is like one of the greatest storylines in movies.
They had the hug outside the plane. And now Harden has come out and called him a liar. But also, Morey has come out and, like, with Ben Simmons, he was a hard ass. He wasn't going to move Ben. Yeah. Told Ben to go away from the team.
Ben's not built for this trade request shit.
No, not at all.
Not the way James Harden is. Yes, Harden absolutely is. We've seen it.
coming to camp. Like, there's no questions
He'll
about
be,
it. It's
he'll
like
be a
Zach
little
said,
late. He'll text him on media day. I'm 5 minutes away, and show up 3 days later. Like,
I mean, like, I feel the guy I feel terrible for is Joel Embiid, because it's like another year of this. Like, holy shit, you know, like,
yeah, you know
all
what?
that stuff.
Play better in the playoffs, Joel,
Yeah,
and then I'll start feeling sorry for you. All right.
Fair enough. But the fun part too is now you have Nick Nurse coming in going like, what the fuck did I just walk into?
Yeah.
Like, there's just so many different things. Such a great story.
And to the Embiid point, there's just no good option for Philadelphia. If you keep Harden, he is going to torpedo you. If you trade him, you're not going to be talented enough, because there is no return out there that gets close to equal.
I mean, look, I don't think plucking like Norm Powell, Terrence Mann, whatever that, like, you know, potpourri of solid role players. I don't like. I think that's still a really good Philly team. It's just not contending, right? Like, I don't think it's a bad deal, especially if you get pick swaps and all that bullshit. Like, I don't think it's a bad deal. It's just not a good deal.
Exactly. You need a trade that puts you over the top, and all these trades are going to make them less talented.
Yeah. I mean, that was the whole thing with the Ben Simmons trade, right? Like, I'm not making this trade unless it gets us still keeps us at a championship level. And that's what's going to happen that's what he's trying to do with the Harden one. I just don't know if the trade's there. Like, I just honestly don't see where that comes from.
Because who's trading for him at this point, right? Like,
he's going to be a free agent the next year, even if it's not the Clippers.
Like, I do think, you know, I think someone could Masai Ujiri this thing and just be like, we'll take a 1-year rental. It's not the same as Kawhi's situation by any means, not the same player. But I do think like I actually love the idea. I wish someone, you guys are going to hate this, but I wish someone like Orlando would be like, fuck it. Let's do it. Like, here's Markelle Fultz and whatever, you know. Also, Markelle Fultz going back to Philly would be funny.
Yeah,
but
funny.
Like, here's a bunch of young dudes. Like, here's some picks. You know, they're protected. We're gonna bring James in and do a 1-year rental and just see what happens. See if we raise our level enough, right? I actually love that idea, but I also recognize the margin for error there is like a dog hair. Like that. It's not like it is so it's so thin, right? Like there is no margin for error there, and it's a whisper essentially. And so I know that could go bad real quick. I just want to see a team like that, or I really like this Orlando team. I want to see them with a really great guard. Like, I as much as we shit on James Harden, and as much as he, you know, fails in big moments, all that stuff, he's still a good player. I wouldn't give him $200 million at age 33, but he's still a good player. And so, like, I do think he adds value to teams. It's just, what are you going to give up for him?
I want to see him in Atlanta.
What a terrible idea.
Orlando's better? Like, get the fuck out of here.
So he could get his number raised in the rafters
for Trae Young.
Strip club again?
For Trae Young. Like, just do it.
Oh, my God. What a terrible idea. All right, let's move on to the schedule.
Fucking Orlando's better. Get the fuck out of here.
You just
Orlando
said you want to see a James Harden for Trae Young deal. Why would Atlanta do that in the first place?
Why would Orlando do it?
They have fucking Cole Anthony playing point guard. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but they ain't gonna help him after a year. He's gone.
Yes, but
they're not gonna give
Cole
up young
Anthony
assets for that.
Cole Anthony's not gonna help them in a year. So you at least raise your level and try to get into the playoffs like they tried to do last year.
Not worth giving up young assets.
What young assets? It's Cole Anthony and Markelle Fultz.
Draft picks, swaps, all that stuff. They're not doing that.
Oh, God. Yeah, but Trae Young, that's a good idea.
None of this is a good idea.
But they're not the same. But they're not the same level of bad idea. Mine is like, ooh, I don't know about this, and yours is like, that's fucking stupid. Like
this is new. This is new for me. Normally, when people fight on this podcast, I'm involved somehow.
There's a lot more podcasts coming for you, Jay. There's a lot more podcasts coming.
Mo dug in on a bad point and just didn't take the L. Like, that's what it is. Like, he had a stupid idea that was worse.
I Jay King'd it. Fair enough. Yeah. I Jay King'd it. Okay.
I love this.
All right, let's get to the schedule. The schedule comes out on Thursday, and we find out that there are going to be 82 games for everybody, and that's a big deal. Or 80. I still don't understand what Jay's saying before the podcast.
80 scheduled games so far, and then there are 2 extra games that every team will play.
So 82
because of as part of the in-season tournament. Well, I think 2 will play 83, but one of them won't count.
What? I don't think
Yeah,
that's how
the
any
teams
of
that make
works.
the championship of the in-season tournament, I believe, will play 83, but one of them won't.
So they're going to get an
count
extra
for the
game
stats.
check?
Oh yeah. No, I
Okay.
mean whoever wins gets 500,000 each, right? Every
If
player.
you lose, do you get money?
You should.
I agree. Yeah. If someone's going to get an extra game check for this or the money winnings.
It's an 80. The NBA has only sent out 80 games.
We got the fucking schedule. That's the point.
Yeah.
We got the schedule.
Still 82 though, Jay. Let's go.
So
Except for
I
two
wasn't
games.
I'll admit I wasn't so much on Twitter on Thursday, so I didn't see a lot of the discourse, but are people upset? I think we have more back-to-backs. We still have the Lakers and the Warriors running the league when it comes to national games. A bunch of teams got one game, which I don't know if that was an NBA TV game or that's an actual national televised game. But we did get Denver. Denver's in that like 20 to 25 range, right? For nationally televised games. And as the defending champs, they should be. We're getting an all Western Conference opening night with the Suns and the Warriors, and then the Lakers and the Denver Nuggets. What I guess for Jay, for you and the covering the Celtics, everything, I think the Celtics open up against the Knicks, right? What was the biggest takeaway from a Celtics standpoint on the schedule release?
They have 14 back-to-backs, which is a little more than they had last season.
Mm-hmm.
The new wrinkle that the NBA has thrown in, at least for the Celtics, they have 5 back-to-backs where both of the games are home games.
Yeah.
Which
it's more that baseball series.
I think that's more than I've ever seen in my entire, like, covering my entire career. If you add them all up, I think that's more.
I think I saw this, and maybe you can confirm this. I think Hollinger tweeted out that there's a stretch where they have a game in Atlanta, and then Portland comes in for a game, and then they're still in Atlanta like 2 days later for like they have that home and home for them. But there's a Hawks game in between.
Yeah, they're going to be in Atlanta for like 5 days at one.
That's the trip you go on.
They fly back to Boston in between. I would not be surprised if they fly back to Boston in between. That's a weird one.
You can't
the smart move to do.
You can't let an NBA player be in Atlanta for 5 days. That's
a smart move.
We'll never see Porzingis again.
Fire like that.
Yeah, that's you can't do that, man.
No way.
Mo, what was your big takeaway from the schedule release? What caught your eye?
They got rid of the 4 games in 5 nights. I think that was kind of a good thing right there.
Yeah.
I don't believe there's any of that on the schedule for the most part. And I mean, that's about it, Zach. Like, I generally don't care too much about the schedule. It generally is the same. Like, it's all the teams play each other the same amount. So, like, it's like, okay, cool. I like the national TV games. I like the Christmas Day game schedule. I think that's a great slate of the games. Pretty excited about that. And like, let's go.
Trey, you're very good online. You're very good. What did you see people either complain about or loving when it came to the schedule release?
Clippers fans felt like they got the bad end of the stick, which is true. I mean, when you think about their injury history, the back-to-backs, it's not going to really help them. Suns fans were ecstatic about getting them, like, being finally in the cream of the crop with the Lakers and the Warriors. And then you got the teams like Portland, which the fans are they don't know what they want at this point, right? You got one game, which is, Scoot Henderson versus
Wemby.
Versus Wemby, and that's the one game that they have, right? And why would we want to see that? They're a bad team, even if they keep Dame. They're still not a good together team. They're not a good team for them to be on there. I will say the only thing that frustrates me about the Lakers and Warriors having so many games is when they get injuries, we're stuck with those games.
Yeah.
So I hope that there's a flex option. I love watching the Lakers play. I love watching the Warriors play, but give us flex options to swap, prior to if there's an injury, because it'd be rough. You know what I mean? Those 10 o'clock games where it's the Lakers versus
sometimes Lakers versus Warriors, and it's
nobody.
It's like, oh shit, Anthony Lamb's going off tonight.
Yeah,
Austin Reeves versus Moses Moody.
It's a
Like
tough
that's
watch.
I actually think they shouldn't put out the national TV schedule, the second half of the national TV schedule until like the All-Star
That's
break.
a good idea.
Get an idea of how everybody looks through the season and then kind of release that part. Maybe I'm sure there's probably more stuff behind it that I don't know that goes into it, but like I think it's just a better way so we get the better games towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
Like the more exciting ones, we know possible matchups and whatnot. So I think that's something the NBA should probably look into trying to do, but I don't know how hard that is.
With Portland,
Well,
like
Also, Ja returning too. Ja
Yeah.
returning December 19th against the Pelicans. So
yeah, that'd be good.
And then from there, they don't start the national TV schedule until he returns. So that was smart.
That's very smart. Yeah.
Big fan of that.
The league didn't really go all in on Victor Wembanyama, but they placed a bet that he will be worthy of watching.
I mean, they got like a dozen games
on national
right?
TV. They got 19.
But they learned from their
19.
Zion. They learned from when they got Zion, right? And they put them everywhere on national TV, and then he got hurt.
And then he was hurt.
Young players who have to
games.
travel through these schedules is tough, though. I will say that. Like some of them haven't had the LeBron James response to the schedule.
I'm sorry.
And it's the Spurs too. They're probably going to load manage him a little bit.
Oh, they're 100% going to load manage him.
Yeah.
Adjusting to a new
100%.
league, he's
Yeah.
7'5".
They're not.
I will say this
for sure.
I think that could go wrong, or it could go really right. But if he misses some of those games will be totally unwatchable. All 19 of them.
I'll leave us on this. I think it is bullshit that in the 2 to 5 nationally televised games range for ABC, ESPN, TNT games, that's where the Hawks and that's where the Timberwolves fell. Like, say what you want. Trae Young's a fucking star, and Anthony Edwards is a star.
Yes.
And those two should be players that the league hypes up as much as they can. Look, the Trae stuff is a little like I understand. Kids love him. Kids love Trae Young, and he's really good. Like, yes, he has issues and everything, but he's really good. And Anthony Edwards, come on, man. This dude is unbelievable. He's a fun personality, and he's someone that I think this is a mistake by the league to not put him on more. Like,
totally
okay,
agree.
you might be stuck with Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert some nights, but Anthony Edwards, like, he plays. And I think that's a huge misstep by the NBA. But none of it matters.
I'd want Edwards. I want Ant on way more national TV games than you.
I think
I also think there's a real chance he takes a big leap this year after playing on the national team, after getting another year under his belt. I think there's a chance that he becomes one of the very best players in the league. Yeah, absolutely. Make sure you're checking out all of the shows from the Athletic NBA Show podcast. Make sure you subscribe to that YouTube channel. Make sure subscribe to The Bounce and subscribe to The Athletic. For Mo, for Trey, for Jay, I'm Zach. Keep it locked on the Athletic NBA Show.